to international news now. President Trump has linked the push for Greenland to being snubbed for a Nobel Peace Prize. The details revealed after the president sent a text message to Norway's Prime Minister. For more on this, let's go to Greenland, and CNN's international diplomatic editor Nick Robertson joins us live from Nuuk, the capital. Nick, that small population of Greenland, you've been there for a while. Give us a sense of how they're reacting to being at the centre of this diplomatic spat.
Well, they took the opportunity over the weekend to protest, and as the Prime Minister said today, it was a unified protest, very clearly saying to the United States, we don't want to be part of the United States, that Greenland isn't for sale, and they're feel heartened by the fact that their European allies and partners really seem to be in lockstep behind them. NATO troops being committed here to come here on additional training exercises, Danish troops, additional Danish troops, significant numbers according to Danish military being deployed here. But I think there's also a sense here, a somewhat of resignation and worry because they fear that President Trump might actually do what he said and do this the hard way and send troops and take control. That's a genuine fear for some, but also that it's sort of happening outside of their control. They can protest about it and be clear about what they want, but there's a sense that it's really not happening in their hands. The Danish Prime Minister said it's a red line. The Europeans are falling in line behind that, but President Trump continues with his really strong and tough language that he wants Greenland.
Now, can you give us a reminder, Nick, for our viewers who might not be aware from the other side of the planet, what is Greenland in terms of its the constitutionality of it? Where does it sit in relation to Denmark? What's the population?
It's part of the Kingdom of Denmark. It has a level of autonomy. It has a government of 31 different lawmakers. It has a total population of about 57,000 people. It is a massive chunk of real estate, albeit a lot of it's covered in ice. It's about 1,600 miles long. It's got an Arctic tip, and the tail of it's in the Atlantic, straddles several time zones, strategically placed next to the sort of thawing polar maritime routes. It's strategically placed because it's between the United States and Russia. So it has a huge size, 12th largest country in the world's largest island, a very tiny population, a population majority Inuit. Their cultures and traditions are very close to nature. Hunting's a tradition. The land is communally owned amongst everyone in the country, rights to hunting. So what they see United States as offering them is an alien culture that would undermine the way that they live. They'd have to pay for healthcare, pay for schooling. And they feel that the environment would be damaged. All these different things they feel as a pressure and a threat. And their relationship with Denmark, they've been sort of looking for greater and greater independence over the years. So this is really, in a way, it's a sort of a crunch time at the moment. Politically, they're aligning themselves to Denmark, saying we want to continue to be part of Denmark. But there are some here who would like to see independence in maybe 10 or 20 years, and some people would like to see it sooner. And then it becomes a case of who do you align with. But it's definitely not the United States. That's the message.
Indeed. And Nick, just finally, initially, I think many people reacted bemused, maybe some laughed it off, this Greenland question from Trump, but it's all getting very serious, not just with the threat of tariffs, but the military, as you say, NATO nations getting in there and showing some support for Denmark as well. How much of a risk is this to the future of the Europe-US relationship and NATO itself?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to go back to the Suez Crisis in the 50s for a time when Europe and the United States were this divided. The Danish Prime Minister has said, look, if the United States takes Greenland, part of our territories, by force, then that's the end of NATO. You can see that both US and Europe are sort of standing on the edge of a potential economic precipice where the European leaders are saying, look, we'd like to discuss this. We don't want to escalate, but if you are going to put tariffs on us, we'll put tariffs back on you, and that would be damaging for everyone. This is a very, very difficult moment, and I think it's going to be, Interesting is probably an understatement this week. US President Donald Trump in Europe at the Davos World Economic Forum on Wednesday, giving a key speech. Lots of European leaders will be there. So a chance for face-to-face one-on-ones, but a chance perhaps for the president to double down or the Europeans find an off-ramp. Right now, the messaging is still very divided and very polarized.
Nick Robertson, International Diplomatic Editor for CNN. Always great to chat. Thanks for making the time live from the Greenland capital of Nuuk.